How did you deal with the comparison frame? Because I did a
I
post on this recently, and it's really something that I'm starting to notice creep back up in clients I've spoken to,
Mhm.
prospective clients, people that I just speak to on a day-to-day basis about even, and I know this, I even get a bit of imposter syndrome with it because people are like, how do you do it? Like, how did you do it? How did you do it? You're over here and I'm here. My mate won't even mind me saying, but I went for a 5K. I did a park run with him last week, and I was going to pace him. And after a mile and a half, it just it turned out that obviously where my base level fitness is for running now was way different to what his was. So I just like he just said, "Go on, mate, go and do whatever you want to do." And then it leads to that conversation afterwards of like, how do you get there, blah blah blah. But I think it's so important to stay in your own lane. I'm not taking the light away from you here. I'm going to let you
Yeah, go
answer,
for it.
but
Yeah.
I think it's really important to stay in your own lane and find the balance between comparing against other people in a healthy manner. In terms of, yeah, it's good to see what other people are doing. I think it can inspire. But as soon as you start doing it in a level of, I do the podcast comparison, right? What is the point of me comparing me and my listeners compared to Joe Rogan? Like it literally would be silly. But if I was to compare myself to somebody with similar amounts of followers to me on Instagram who's got a podcast and their downloads and how many episodes they've done, that's a good way to compare because I'm probably way out and I'm in the high brackets of percentages now with the amount of episodes I've recorded. So that's a good way to do it. But is my content as good as theirs? That's, like you need to be doing it in a real clever way. So what helped you with the comparison frame?
I think I was going to definitely hone in on both things you just said then. Number one
Sorry
being the
about
fact, no, it's fine.
that.
I mean, it just shows that it's we obviously think very similarly. It works though because it didn't get me down. Like don't get me wrong, there's moments where I'm like, oh, wish I was faster or wish I was stronger. But at no point did I let that really did I dwell on that fact so much that it ruined the experience for me. Because I think that's you have to recognize, like the quote goes, like comparison is the thief of joy, and it really is. Like the second you start to dwell on something that's not serving you, it's going to take the fun out of it. And then if you lose sight of what you're enjoying about the process, the whole thing just goes downhill. And it's like, well, what's the point in any of it if you're not going to enjoy it?
Mm,
um and I think you do have to remember, like, you are your own league. Like, you only have to take it back to science. That you can do I don't know, in school when you would do experiments and everything, you couldn't compare two different experiments if the variables were completely different. It's irrelevant. Like, the data is completely invalid. Whatever you draw, like whatever conclusion you draw from that doesn't matter because the controlled variables weren't the same. It's the same like in anything in life. That you can't, like, if I was to say, oh, London was so much easier than Leeds, you can't compare the two marathons. They're completely different races, they're completely different routes, they're completely different terrains, they're completely different. It was a whole different build up. My training was completely different. What I was doing then was completely different to what I was doing now. And it just wouldn't be fair for me to compare those two experiences. And again, you can say that in anything. Um, so I think the second you start to do that, you need to just give your head a wobble. Because I agree, healthy competition, or use it to your advantage and let that drive you and motivate you. But you know, if you're someone who looks over at someone else and you think, actually, why aren't I as good as them? And you view that negatively, if you know you're that type of person, then don't even let that come into your like your what would you say? Your line of sight. Like, just don't put the blinkers on and just tunnel vision to your journey only, because the
yeah.
second you start to get wrapped up in other people's worlds, you'll just start to spiral. Like, you have to be in control of your own head. And I think you do have to take a degree of responsibility for that. You can't just, be like, oh, woe is me. Why am I not quicker? Why am I not stronger? Like, come on, you're where you are. You can't change that. If you don't like it, then do something about it. If you are, then just keep going because you'll get there.